Hi dear students, good morning and welcome you all. We have started quantitative biology paper, and in that we have already covered introductory part as well as data. Okay, so we have started first unit, and in that we have studied some of the aspects of data, that is qualitative data as well as quantitative data, discrete continuous series of data. And actually this is part of fundamental concepts, and in today's lecture we're going to study sample statistics and population parameter. Okay, so first, what is mean by population? Okay, so it is an entire group of people or study elements. It may be person, it may be things or measurements having some common fundamental characteristics. So what is meant by population? It is group of people. Okay, it is entire group of people, or in case of human being you can say people, or in case of crops, or in case of other things you can say study elements, or the things or measurements having some common fundamental characteristics. Okay, so simply it is nothing but group of things or people having similar characteristics. Okay, so what it means by population? It is an entire group of people or study elements. It may be persons, it may be things, or it may be measurements having some common fundamental characteristics. Then there are two types of populations are there. First is finite and second is infinite. In case of finite, if a population consists of fixed number of values, it is said to be finite. Okay, example, number of days in a week, number of days in a month, number of months in a year. So these values are fixed, you cannot change these values, and since the time these values are still continue. Okay, so what is meant by finite population? It is consist of fixed number of value and it is said to be finite. Okay, means the number in this category is fixed. And in case of infinite, if population consists of endless succession of values, it is said to be infinite. Means here the number is continuously fluctuating or continuously changing. There are several examples they are included in this category. Say for example, number of animals in ocean, the number of trees in forest, or number of trees or insects in particular area, say for example grassland ecosystem or forest ecosystem. Okay, so in case of infinite population, here the number it is continuously changing, or you cannot count, especially you cannot count this number. Okay, so in case of infinite population, it is consist of an endless succession of values and it is said to be infinite, means you cannot count this number. So for example, in case of stars in sky, so they are infinite, you cannot count these stars. Okay, you cannot count these stars. So these are basic things about population. So population is group of people having similar features or similar characteristics, or it may be group of things, or it may be group of study elements. So in case before defining the population, so means there are several things in case of statistics. If the population is limited, so it is possible to study entire population, but if the population is large, so we have to drawn sample from that population. So it is not feasible as well as possible to study entire population. That's why we draw sample and we study sample from that population that we extract. So before a sample is taken, we must first define the population to which we want to generalize our result. So actually we must we know, or we are clear, means what can we say, that we should clear about our target area. Okay, we should clear about our target area means what? we should clearly define our population that we have to study. Suppose I want to study particular data from agriculture field. Now there are so many agriculture field, but I will put means I will choose some 1 acre area or 1 hectare area, and this is the area, and the entire crops in that particular area is my population. Okay, so your population should be clearly defined. Okay, so the population of interest may differ for each study we undertake. Okay, so what is the main motto of studying population? Your area or your population is precisely known, or it should be clearly defined. So the population, it could be the professional football players in the country, it may be the registered voters of the state, it may be the college student at given university, it may be the number of bacterial colonies on petri dish, it may be the number of trees in particular area, it may be the number of animals in jungle. So what is meant by population? It is group of people, or it may be things, or it may be some other means of having similar characteristics. Suppose in case of these are several examples that reflects characteristic of population. The population, it may be suppose I told you in case of your class, the population of your class means all number of students of your class, they will represent the population of your class. In case of Department of Microbiology, all the students, those who are enrolled in Department of Microbiology, it is the population of Department of Microbiology. Similarly, in case of higher level, all students of our college, it is the population of our college. So you can define population in various ways, or you can the population may be, it may be means number of trees in particular forest area, it may be number of animals in case of any space or forest area, it may be the number of insects in case of forest or any grassland ecosystem. Even in case of a petri dish, you can see there are several colonies on that petri dish after culturing a particular culture. So the colonies on petri dish, they reflect population of that bacteria. Okay, so in this way you can means define population. Okay, so these are several examples to whom we can address. So these are populations. The next, sampling. So sampling in case of statics, it is one of the most important thing in case of statics, and all in other things also. So why we do sampling? Because in case of, I have told you that in case of population, if it is a small size, it is possible to study that entire population. Okay, suppose I told you to collect the data from your class in the form of name of student, then its mobile number and email ID, then it is possible because you are almost 24 to 26, then one of your colleague, or one of even in case of I can examine all of you through Google form or through any means. So as your population is small, so I can easily collect the data. But in case of a population is large, so at that time it is not feasible or not possible to study entire population. That's why we extract or we take samples from that population. So sample reflect or represent all population. Samples are nothing but they reflect the entire population. So the technique of obtaining information about the whole group by examining only the part of whole group is called sampling. So what is mean by sampling? So it is technique of obtaining information about the whole group of population by examining very few of them. Okay, suppose there is population of 10,000 people and I want to collect the data of that 10,000 people. So it is not possible for me or you people to go to each and every person and to collect the data from them. So what we'll do, we'll grab some popular means samples. Say for example, we'll take 500 people from that, we'll take 1000 people from that, we'll take 100 people from that. So that's why sampling is important. So all the samples, they reflect the entire population. Okay. So what is meant by sampling? It is the technique of obtaining information about the whole population, and the sample which we draw, it reflects the entire population. Suppose in case of you are falling ill, and you are suffering from any pathologic condition. So if you go to your physician, so it prescribes some medicine. Okay. So if you are suffering from running nose, if you are suffering from fever, okay, in case of other things, so in case of illness, when you go to your physician, it gives you some medicines, and after taking medicine, still you are not getting, or you are not feeling well, then he suggests some test, pathological test or blood test for you to do. Then what you do, you go to lab technician. Okay. Then what lab technician does, it takes sample of blood from your body. Okay. Now it is not possible to check the entire blood of your body. Okay. It is not possible and feasible to check the entire blood of your body. That's why that technician draws few drops or few ml of sample from your blood from your body, and by examining this sample, he can told, he may suggest you that you are suffering from this particular kind of pathological condition. Say for example, in case of you may be suffering from typhoid, you may be suffering from malaria. Okay, you understand what is meant by sampling. So sampling means it is the fraction of population. Okay, in case of your body, your blood is the entire population, and the technician that draws few ml or few drops of sample, it is represents the entire blood of, meant it is sample, and by examining that sample, it can show all profile of your blood. Similar way, by examining that few drops of blood, you can check cholesterol level of your body, then sugar level of your body, then thyroid level of your body. So this is how sampling is important thing in case of statistics. Okay. So why we drew sampling method? Because it is not possible to study the entire population. That's why we grab some sample of few pieces, or we study a few parts. So that's why sampling is important. So this is this picture shows a very good technique of sampling, and in this you can see that there is population of and the above side of picture represent population, and here we can draw sample from that population. Okay. So why do we do sampling? Because it is not possible to study entire population. That's why we draw samples out of that population, and that sample reflects all the entire population. Okay. So sampling is the technique of obtaining information about the whole group by examining only part of whole group, and that is called as sampling. Okay. So in case of statistics, sampling method has very immense importance, because if sampling is not done properly, or it is done in proper way, it reflects the final result or final conclusion that we're going to draw after applying some statistical tools or techniques. Okay. Then there are two types of samplings are there. First is a random sample, that is also known as probability sample, and non-random sample, that is known as non-probabilities sample. We will discuss this sampling method in very detail in upcoming slides or in next lecture. Okay. So what are the objectives of sampling? So estimation of population parameter, so that means if you want to study population in case of statistical tools, say for example mean, standard deviation and other purposes. So we draw sample. Okay, so main objective of sampling is that if you want to study population, and if it is not possible to study entire population, that at that time we draw sample. Okay, to test hypothesis about the population from which the sample or samples are drawn. Okay, say for example in case of a petri dish, there are so many colonies are there. Okay, and I told you that out of these colonies, tell me which colony. Suppose there are 10 colonies on that petri dish, and I told you that please tell me gram character for this petri dish, means gram profile for this petri dish. Then what you will do, you will pick up some samples from each of the cultures, and you will examine or you will perform gram staining, and after examining or performing gram staining, the results whatever you get, you can say that out of 10 colonies there are 6 colonies that are gram positive and 4 colonies that are gram negative. So that is why sampling is important. So it is not possible to study entire population of bacteria. That's why you draw some few samples or few cells out of that, and by examining that few cells you can definitely say that the entire colony is gram positive or gram negative. Okay, in case of soil also, suppose how I told you to collect data of your soil, that I told you to check the flora of soil. Then what you will do, you will take 500 gram or roughly 1 kg, or randomly you take that soil, and out of that you will take 1 gram or 0.1 milligram of sample, and that 0.1 milligram or 1 milligram of sample that reflects entire soil population. So that is why, and that's how the sample or sampling process is important. Okay, so there are few terminologies in this while in sampling technique. So we'll see. So sample is a relatively small group of selected number of individual or objects or cases drawn from a particular population, and it is used to throw light on the population characteristics. So what is meant by population? It is a few numbers, it may be few pieces, or it may be some small quantity. Okay, so it is relatively a small group of selected number of individual or objects or cases drawn from particular population, and it is used to throw light on population characteristics. So I told you before that sample reflects entire population. Okay, sample reflects entire population because we drawn sample from that population, and population we know that it is group of similar group of individual or group of things having similar features or common characteristics. Okay, so sample is small group of selected numbers of individual or object or few pieces. Okay, then sampling unit. So sampling unit may be administrative unit or natural unit like topographical section or subcompartments, or it may be artificial units like strips or certain widths or plots of defined shape and size. So what is meant by sampling unit? Suppose this is Kopargaon city. Okay, and I told you to collect data how many students are studying in Kopargaon. So what are the sampling units for this study? So school, colleges these are sampling units for this study. Okay, so I told you to collect data that how many students are studying from first standard to 12th standard or some senior college also. So what are the units, sampling units for this study or for this problem? So all the education institute that offers education, say for example schools are there, colleges are, so entire schools and colleges of Kopargaon, they are sampling units for this study. Okay, suppose I told you to check the soil profile of our college area, then different corners or the entire premises of our area is our sampling unit. So you can draw sample from any where from our campus, and you can examine for that microbial profile or any other study. Okay, so that's why sampling unit is defined. So it may be administrative unit, or it may be natural units like topographical sections and sub compartments. Okay, the unit must be well defined element or group of element identifiable on which observations or characteristic under study could be made. So you should clear about unit. Okay, the population is thus subdivided into suitable units for the purpose of sampling, and these are called sampling units. Okay, so the unit must be well defined element or group of element, and it should be identifiable on which observations on the characteristic under study could be made, or the population is thus subdivided into suitable units for the purpose of sampling, and these are called sampling units. Okay, then sampling frame. The sampling frame is the actual list of individuals that the sample will drawn from, and ideally it should include entire target population and nobody who is not part of that population. So what is meant by sampling frame? So suppose I told you to collect data from your class, so your class is your sampling frame. For example, you are doing research on working condition at company X, and your population is all 1,000 employees of that company. So your sampling frame is that company's HR database, which is list the names and contact details of every employee. So this is how sampling frame is defined. Then sample size. So it is the size of sample. Suppose there is we want to study population of 1 lakh people. So whatever number of people you are taking as a sample, say for example 10,000 people, then 8,000 people, then 5,000 people, or 100 people. So all these are sample size. So the number of individuals in your sample depends on the size of population and how precisely you want the result to represent the population as a whole. Okay, so sample size is nothing but number or quantity that you are taking for study, okay, or that you are taking as a sample. And the sample size, again, it depends upon the population. If population is small, then sample size is always definitely small, and as the population size get increases, or it will going to increase, the sample they also get increased. Okay, so the population sample size, it depends upon size of population. So small size population, obviously sample drawn from that sample population is always small, and in case of large population we have to draw large samples. Okay, so this is how basic features of sampling. In next lecture we'll study more details about this process. Thanks.